Hail, fellow travelers. Tim from Secret Fire Books here with another book review. I know, 3 book reviews in 1 week. It's crazy, but I wanted to end the month really strong on something that I really enjoyed reading, and that was Eric John Stark, Outlaw of Mars by Leigh Brackett. I really enjoyed this book. This is a collection of 2 novellas. The book itself was published in 1982, I believe. Yeah, published 1982. The original novellas are from 1964. And the character of Eric John Stark was something that Leigh Brackett came up with in the 1950s. Back then, she had written a couple short stories about this character, Eric John Stark. And then, according to what little research I did before filming this video, Leigh Brackett spent some time in Hollywood as a screenplay writer. She worked on a bunch of high-profile films, such as the film adaptation of The Big Sleep, as well as Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. And then, in the 1980s, she wrote the Scathe trilogy, which is a trilogy of Eric John Stark novels, which are all collected in this big omnibus, The Book of Scathe. I ordered this a few days ago. It just came in the mail, and I'm excited to tear into this sometime soon. These stories belong to the genre of planetary romance, also known as Sword and Planet, and they take place in what I'm assuming is the distant future, where mankind has colonized other planets and is making contact with various different alien races. Our main character, Eric John Stark, is a human, an Earthman, as they say. He is born to a human family in this mining colony on Mercury, and through some kind of vague disaster that isn't really elaborated on, his parents are killed, and he ends up being raised by the sort of humanoid aliens living on Mercury. And they're kind of these savage barbarians, so Stark basically grows up as a feral child, a la Tarzan. At some point in his youth, however, he is taken in by another human named Simon Ashton, who is a representative of the Terran forces, the government organization from Earth. And Ashton kind of takes him in, teaches him how to be more civilized, kind of becomes his father figure and mentor. And then at some point in Stark's adulthood, the two of them have a falling out, and Stark becomes this wandering mercenary and thief who travels around to different planets, getting into all kinds of swashbuckling adventures. And that's where we pick up in this book, Eric John Stark, Outlaw of Mars. In the first novel, The Secret of Sinharat, Simon Ashton has just caught up with Eric John Stark on Mars. And at this point, as the title of the book suggests, John Stark has already accrued this criminal record on Mars, and he's actually wanted by the Terran military that's stationed there. And so Simon Ashton makes Stark a deal. He says, look, I know you're a wanted man, I know you have this bounty on your head, and I could take you in if I wanted. But we think you might be able to help us with something. As it turns out, there is this rebellion going on Mars. There are these barbarian tribes who are uniting together and trying to overthrow the Terran military. So what we want you to do is infiltrate the rebellion. They're very distrustful of outsiders, but you have this kind of roguish criminal reputation with them here on Mars. So we want you to infiltrate the rebellion, act as a double agent for us, and help tear it apart from the inside. And if you can do that, then we will put in a good word for you with the Terran government, and we'll try to get your criminal record wiped clean. So, of course, Eric John Stark takes him up on this offer. He joins up with the rebels. He's welcomed by them almost immediately, and he finds that the leader of the rebels claims to have access to this ancient Martian technology, this almost magical body-swapping technology that can take the mind of one person and transfer it into the body of another person. And their leader claims that with this power, he can unite the disparate tribes of Mars into one great army, and that their power can overthrow the Terran forces here on Mars. But the longer that he stays with this organization, and the more he learns about it, the more Stark learns that there's actually a separate faction working there as well. There are other secret agents infiltrating this rebellion, and they might belong to the ancient race of aliens that built this ancient technology. And they've been basically swapping from one body to another over the centuries, making them effectively immortal. And if he allows them to complete their schemes, then not only will the rebellion be torn apart, but all of Mars will be torn apart. And if that happens, he's not getting his government pardon. Then in the second novella, The People of the Talisman, Eric John Stark is transporting this friend of his to his hometown. This thief, Kamar, who is a good friend of Stark's, has fallen gravely ill, and he wishes to return to his hometown and make amends before he dies. And unfortunately, he doesn't make it. He dies on the trip there, and he leaves Stark with this talisman that he claims to have stolen from a shrine in the city, and he wants Stark to return it for him. And what Stark soon finds out is that this talisman is actually a holy relic belonging to the people of this city, and they kind of hold it with this reverence that its holy power has protected their city for generations and generations. And what happened when Kamar stole the talisman is that the government of this city covered it up. They replaced the talisman with a fake in its little shrine, and they basically gaslit the population into believing that nothing had ever happened, that the talisman was always there to begin with. And the only people who know that the real talisman was stolen are the higher-ups in the city's government, as well as the thieves and the rogues in the criminal underbelly of this city, which of course is the faction that Eric John Stark falls in with when he finally makes it to the city. But on the way, Stark encounters this army of barbarians who have decided to attack the city, raze it to the ground, and plunder it for all it's worth. And so while he's there, he tries to stir up this kind of Minuteman-style army to protect this city, because they've gone so long believing that the magic power of this talisman has protected them from their enemies, that they really have grown kind of soft and don't have this organized military that works all that well. So Eric John Stark kind of has to give them a kick up the butt and organize the citizens of this city into a standing army that can withstand the invasion from these barbarians. Of course, as the outlook of the battle becomes bleaker and bleaker, Stark decides that he may have to use the power of this talisman, if there's any power in it at all. Now, I really, really enjoyed both of these novellas, but what really struck me about them was Leigh Brackett's writing style. It's very pulpy, and that's to be expected of both Leigh Brackett and her husband, Edmund Hamilton, who I've read a little bit of in the past. They were both pulp writers. They published short stories in science fiction and fantasy magazines all throughout the early 20th century. But what really, really struck me was just how similar her style was to Robert E. Howard's. Now, it wasn't as poetically lyrical as some of Howard's prose, but when it came to descriptions, purely describing characters or scenes or action, it was very similar. And I saw this more than ever with the main character of Eric John Stark. He is very much a Conan-esque character. He's this savage who is raised in a hostile environment, and he hates civilization. He doesn't get on with civilized people at all. He much prefers to be with the sort of the dregs of society, the thieves and the outlaws, the assassins, the barbarians. He really is a barbaric character within this science fiction universe. What I loved the most about him is just how brutally masculine this character is. I know that masculinity is something that's kind of looked down upon in modern fiction, and I can see why, because there was an absolute glut of it in the 20th century and the early 21st century. I get that, but that's just the kind of character that I love. I love these super macho characters that just kick the door down and get business done. I love that kind of thing. I love Conan, and so obviously I love Eric John Stark. He is this very grim, brooding character, and when he's not grim and brooding, he's angry, he's punching, he's kicking, he's shooting, he's stabbing, he's ripping and tearing until the job is done. I absolutely love this guy. There is a scene in the first novella where he gets so angry. He sees this guy who tried to kill him before, and he wants revenge, and he's just so angry, so blindingly furious, that as he's walking through the city streets, tracking this guy down, everyone's screaming at him to stop. They're telling him, no, Stark, don't. If you kill this guy, it's going to mess everything up. Terrible things are going to happen, but he just doesn't care. He's seeing red. He's hearing ringing in his ears. He is going to destroy this dude. And without spoiling how this scene ends, I will say that even though it totally subverts what we thought was going to happen, it doesn't take away from just how awesome of a character Eric John Stark is. Honestly, these stories were more Conan than a lot of Conan pastiche that I've read in the past. So yeah, I know that that's a style of storytelling that's not going to be to everyone's liking, but I just loved it. It's barbarians in space. I'm an easy mark for that kind of thing. As far as things that I didn't like, Leigh Brackett's world building, if you can even call it that, is a little vague. I say that I assume this takes place in the distant future because we're not really told. It's not really explained all that well. We're just told that there are human civilizations on these different planets. And even then, she refers to these different people, these totally human-looking people, as Martians or Venusians or Earthmen. So I was kind of wondering as to whether they are different alien races or if just all the people on all these different planets have human ancestry. If this is so far into the future and these Terran civilizations have been around so long that all the different races on Mars and Venus and all the other planets just have this human ancestry. Because there is a totally non-human race that's represented towards the end of the first novella. But aside from them, everyone's just kind of regular humans in space. That said, I don't think this is really supposed to be all that deep. These aren't supposed to be these intellectually minded, really thought out, fleshed out science fiction epics. It's Sword and Planet. It's heroic fantasy in space. So if you like that kind of stuff, you're going to love this. And if not, if you want a lot more depth in your science fiction, then you should give this one a pass. But now that I've finished Eric John Stark, Outlaw of Mars, I need to choose the next Sword and Planet book to read. And if you remember, last time I left that to a roll the die. I had 6 Sword and Planet books lined up. I gave them each a number, and then I rolled a die, and whichever number that die landed on, that was the book that I read. And this time it was Eric John Stark, Outlaw of Mars. So let's switch over to the next camera view, let's roll some dice, and see what fate chooses for me next. Okay, so when I posted that last Sword and Planet video, I actually got a lot of comments saying that I should have let my viewers choose the book for me, and I thought about doing that, but in order to do it, I would have needed a way to tally all the votes. And I could have made a poll on my YouTube page, but unfortunately, when you make a poll, YouTube will only allow a maximum of 4 options, and there were 6 books that I wanted to read through. So I decided to go with rolling a 6-sided die instead, and that's what we're going to do this time as well. Now, this time around, I haven't added a 6th book to the pile. It's just the 5 remaining books from that previous video. But this time around, I'm going to roll the die. Whichever number it lands on, that's the book I'll read. If I roll a 6, I'll just re-roll it. And then once I'm finished with that book and I decide to do this again, I will post a poll on YouTube with only 4 options, and that'll allow you guys to choose which book I'll read next. So this time we're going to leave it to chance once again. And the books we have lined up are, once again, number 1, The Gods of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Number 2, Almuric by Robert E. Howard. Number 3, Warrior of Larn by Gardner F. Fox. Number 4, The Goddess of Ganymede by Michael D. Resnick. And number 5, The Lord of the Spiders by Michael Moorcock. So those are the 5 options. Again, if I roll a 6, I'll just re-roll it. Let's see which book fate chooses for me this time. Number 2, all right. Almuric by Robert E. Howard. All right, I've actually been really excited about this one. So yeah, look forward to me reading and reviewing that one on the channel sometime soon. Until next time, guys, as always, farewell and keep reading. Yeah.